Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is about to be released at the end of the month, and I grow wary of the quality of the game. The recent reviews on early gameplay by numerous gaming outlets and critics, not to mention the obvious puppeteers that are Warner Brothers, leads me to believe that the only team Suicide Squad are killing is Rocksteady. Just in case you don't know who Rocksteady are, they're behind the award-winning Arkham games that changed how superheroes and combat in video games are developed, with a recent example being the Spider-Man games that follows a similar format and combat system to Rocksteady's Arkham games. Or as my older brother always says about Rocksteady, the only games worth playing. Yup, he's a big Batman fan. So you're probably wondering right now, how can one game that hasn't even been released yet kill an entire game studio? That seems a bit premature. Well, yes, normally I would agree with you, but for one reason. The big bros at Warner Brothers have unsurprisingly leaned towards making live service games to increase monetization and engagement. CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav, has stated that our focus is on transforming our biggest franchises from largely console and PC based with 3-4 year release schedules to include more always on gameplay through live services, multi-platform and free-to-play extensions, with the goal to have more players spending more time on more platforms. Zaslav is famously known for removing titles from HBO streaming platforms in order to not pay residuals, scrapping finished products to claim tax write-offs, and laying off the Turner Classic Movies team, gutting cinematic history from the network. So there's no surprise he's trying to bleed video games dry to make easy profit. But it's far from easy. Among many examples, Shadow of War highlights how live service features and microtransactions are not what consumers want or need. Shadow of War received heavy backlash for microtransactions relating to the Nemesis system, undermining the gameplay, and was removed just a year later. The Marvel's Avengers game that came out not too long ago was also a perfect representation of what Suicide Squad could become. The Avengers game was riddled with microtransactions, live service content updates, and boring gameplay, resulting in the game being removed from digital storefronts after only 3 years. Now WB are trying to go the same route, which will hinder single-player games and Rocksteady, who are famous for world-building and single-player experiences. Rocksteady and the pursuits by WB just don't match. Rocksteady are good at making single-player games, but had to create a third-person single multiplayer shooter type game so it can be offered as a live service game, leaving many doubts about the quality of the game when released. There's been lots of rumors about Rocksteady since Arkham Knight came out, especially about the development of a Superman game. And it feels like Rocksteady wanted to make a Superman game, but the big brothers forced them into a live service format. It's not a good start to a new game, when the majority of the fanbase wanted Superman. I don't know about you, but I wanted a Superman game. Yes, I sound like a spoiled child. Now that I'm aware of it, let's continue. One of the big rumors going around was that Warner Brothers rejected a Superman game pitch by Rocksteady. If this was in fact true, it's very telling of the desires of Rocksteady and what they really wanted to make. From my perspective, many people, including myself, wanted Rocksteady to make a Superman game, as an actually good one has never been made. With the new capabilities of the next-gen consoles and their fast SSDs, it feels like the best time to make something as big as Superman. There are many arguments about whether Superman would be a good fit for a game, considering how overpowered he is as a character, but with good story writing, a strength of Rocksteady, it can be doable. A couple months ago, the rumor of Suicide Squad initially being a Superman game was debunked, confirming that no Superman game was in development. I'm concerned that Rocksteady were gearing up to make a Superman game, so potentially Rocksteady might have developed the game for 7 years that they didn't really want to do, which may ultimately speak volumes to the quality of the game. Superman has been neglected and failed for the last 15 years in all mediums, so a Superman game would be refreshing in that aspect, and would tie in nicely with the new Superman movie in the works. Another point to mention is the saturated Suicide Squad content that we have seen from Warner Brothers in the last 10 years. For some reason, they have some obsession with Suicide Squad. They have attempted numerous times with films and reboots of those films, and cartoons, for most of them to flop. Most people will look at this new Suicide Squad game with negativity due to the past Suicide Squad content. A huge task to create a Superman game would have allowed Rocksteady to innovate and push the boundaries of single-player games, but with Suicide Squad, it seems like they are following saturated trends rather than setting them. The gameplay that has been shown so far is lackluster at best, and I really hope I get proven wrong when it comes out. The combat styles between the characters are way too similar, with all of them having gunplay which greatly undermines Deadshot as a character. The enemies are bland and far from the enemies in the Arkham games. No real thought is needed to defeat hordes of the same enemies, just point and shoot, it seems. A critique I had about the Arkham games was that the open world always seemed a bit too empty, but I gave those games the benefit of the doubt due to hardware capabilities. But there is no excuse for Suicide Squad, and the city looks just as empty, if not more empty, and without any life, almost contrasting the locations in the Arkham games. These initial thoughts by me and many others seem to be right, with feedback and reports from outlets who have tried early gameplay packages just a few days ago. The best aspect of the game seems to be its story, while its gameplay is leaving a lot to be desired.
Will I be playing the full scope of this game when it comes out? At this point, probably so, guys. I just need to see it through. It's a pretty fun game, but I would say that the story is the driving force. Rocksteady's gonna have to do something else to spice up that gameplay.
So things I didn't like about the game, because there are things I didn't like. The first thing I want to talk about that I didn't really like is there's too much going on the screen. There's too much happening.
What I saw and played was a game that seemed decently fun in small doses, but a game that I was already getting bored with after just 2 or 3 hours of gameplay. And that's a problem. Again, this is a live service game that they're hoping players will engage with for thousands of hours.
I'll leave links to a couple videos that go more in depth with the time of Suicide Squad. Some of the critiques are lackluster combat system, tedious tasks, annoying teammates, the Flash boss fight was annoying, uninspired missions, map traversal, verticality during combat was confusing. The Arkham games were famous for having groundbreaking combat, great missions, a great world, and map traversal, but Suicide Squad seems to fall short of these. For a game to have a lackluster combat system and tedious, uninspiring missions, what is there left for it to be fun to play? The gear system and appearance of a battle pass also reinforces the bad signs that Suicide Squad gives off. Game Informer did feel more confident about the game, but it's hard for me to believe that the game will be a good game when a preview is somewhat lackluster, because a game studio would only provide a preview that they believe to be good. The cutthroat actions of Warner Brothers worries me about the future of Rocksteady, as the success of the game will be blamed solely on Rockstar by Warner Brothers. The greed of Warner Brothers could be poison for Rocksteady for their future in the game industry. Suicide Squad has already seen large amounts of hate and negativity from fans, and the early impressions will not help the game as well. Suicide Squad has to hit big for fans to be less worried about Warner Brothers' dirty grip on Rocksteady, but from early impressions, I don't think it will. I can see this game ending up like the Avengers game, where Rocksteady would desperately try to improve the game over time, but unable to release nearly enough good content until its eventual death within a couple years. I can only hope that this game is good, or that Rocksteady can look past this game and develop something that is groundbreaking, more of what they are capable of, instead of the Suicide Squad killing them instead. If you enjoyed the video and you got some time, please check out some of my other content and subscribe if you want.
Some of my viewers are actually subscribed to my channel.
Also, please let me know in the comments if I made any mistakes or left out some things. I always try my best, but sometimes I do make mistakes.